Welcome to Charger Central podcast. How's it going, Levon?
It's going good. How about you?
All right, all right. Trying to get over being sick, but happy we got the victory, man.
Yeah. Great win. This time I was at the game. It was just a great crowd. Just energized from the start. And it just got louder and louder in the stadium. I was glad to see the sea of blue. Last time I was there was 3 years ago, I think, against the Chiefs, and it was a sea of red. So I'm glad to see the sea of blue. Good amount of Saints fans, but nowhere near the amount of Chargers fans that there were. Especially where I was seated, and it was the Saints bench. It was section 238, and there were just a bunch of Charger fans. So it was good to see that. In terms of the game itself, very good job by the defense. Outstanding job. Look, they have backup quarterbacks playing. Doesn't matter. I mean, Chris Olave was there. Kamara played. So they had their main guys. Backup quarterback. I mean, Spencer Rattler was decent in college. I think got pulled out too. And the other backup quarterback came in later in the game. He did actually a little bit better, but still didn't make a dent in the scoreboard. Offensively, they played well. First half, it was kind of iffy, but then second half they stepped up. And I'd rather have that than them, pouring in points in the first half and then just going silent in the second half, because this way, you can have a commanding lead and win. Bradley Bozeman, man, he did the right thing when Herbert went down, and someone sitting in front of me turned around during the intermission, and she was like, "What happened there?" I said, "Well, the guy was literally holding on to Herbert's leg and not letting go, and could have snapped his ankle." And the offensive lineman helped him out and shoved him aside. And just to Herbert's credit, not even he just didn't even think about it, just quickly tried pulling Bozeman off him. And I mean, the thing is with the refs, a lot of penalties, but then a lot of missed calls. I don't, and it's the same conversation every single week. So I don't understand that. Like, how is that not a penalty? How is that a penalty on both? All Bozeman is doing is protecting his quarterback, which is what he's supposed to do. Yeah. I didn't understand that.
And how's that not an ejection either?
Right. How are you going to normalize it? Because if you're not going to eject him, others are going to do the same thing. And you're going to put quarterback's health at risk.
Yeah. And everyone knew Herbert had a bad ankle, and he's going after the ankle.
Yeah. Yeah. But aside from that, McConkey, my goodness.
Yeah.
Incredible game. That last play, people stood up. And so I stood up too. And I couldn't even see Lad. That's how short he is. I couldn't even see him. And he just mossed that defender. It was incredible. What a performance. 2 touchdowns. He had over 100 yards. That 60-yard touchdown was great. Just a great performance from him. And I think we found our wide receiver one. I'm not saying that we don't need wide receiver help. I'm just saying he's our wide receiver one. Even if we go out and get Mike Will or Deontay Johnson possibly. And I really do want Deontay Johnson. I think he can help this team immediately. But Lad's the wide receiver one. I mean, by the time Herbert kind of builds that rapport with whoever comes in, it's going to take some time. So he's going to be that wide receiver one for us.
Yeah, it was a great performance. I love seeing the fire from Herbert after he had that long run, and
yeah,
you could see it from him. He was pumped up, and that shows the ankle is better too, because he wouldn't have been able to do that, before. And like you said, the defense is still dominating. Doesn't matter, it's against backups. Kamara is still a great running back.
Exactly.
Olave is still a great wide receiver, and they made some plays, but the Chargers still, holding that team's offense down the way they did. That's championship defense.
Yeah,
that is. Yeah. And seeing guys like Jalen Reagor step up, could he be the deep threat we need? Maybe if he can keep making plays like that, great way to redeem himself, making that tough contested catch, getting his feet in bounds.
He just has to not fumble. And I think he'll work on that. He'll get better at that. But other than that, I think he did well yesterday. Palmer did well yesterday. A lot of these guys stepped up. And last week we didn't see that against the Cardinals. But this week we saw it. And that's what matters. The improvement is what matters. Also a very important win because the Broncos won too. And Sean Payton after the game was kind of mad because they allowed the Panthers to score 14 points. Like, I love that. They won and he's still pissed. He wants them to get better. And they're a scary team. Like, they started off 0-2. They're 4-3 now, I think. So
aren't they one win above us? 5-3?
Yeah. Or 5-3.
Yeah.
5-3. Because they don't have a bye week yet. Yeah. So very important win.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to start stacking wins when you can now. It's going to be tough against Cleveland with Jameis Winston now, who just beat Baltimore, stunning upset. But he's a good quarterback, so it's going to be a tough test, and we'll get into that more on Thursday.
Yeah.
But the things I am concerned about this team, Zion. He continues to struggle in pass protection.
Yeah.
He's a good run blocker, but he's just not picking it up in pass pro. And in that middle of the line, as much as we love what Bozeman did to protect his quarterback, Bozeman, Trey Pipkins, these guys are issues in pass protection because teams are just getting to Herbert. Herbert gets hit and he'll get the ball out, but he's still getting hit.
Yeah. I mean, we've been speaking about that for weeks now. I think the one thing I like now is that Herbert's more mobile and he's not afraid to use his legs, and we didn't really see that in the past. So I really like that. And the problem with Dobbins now is that, like you said, the offensive line is struggling, and if they're struggling to protect the quarterback, they're going to struggle to open up holes for Dobbins. This was another game that Dobbins could have exploited and couldn't. He got the touchdown, which was great. But it's just receiving-wise, he's making the plays, but he's not being able to get yardage. And you got to win somewhere there, right? Either through the air or through the ground game for Dobbins or Vidal. And they're just not being able to do it right now. So I think that's a concern as well because it just goes back to the offensive line. But Joe Alt, great performance from him again yesterday. I think he was the highest rated rookie yesterday, and Ladd was in the top 10. I don't know how Ladd wasn't, higher than that, but all that talk about Malik Neighbors, I think that's put to bed after yesterday's win. It would have been great to have him, but I'm happy with Ladd. I'm happy with Joe Alt. I don't think, like I was saying a couple weeks ago, if we got Neighbors, we wouldn't have had McConkey, and if we had gotten Neighbors, then we would have had to have gotten a second round O-line, and we just haven't really seen those second round O-lines do much so far this year. So I'm happy with the picks.
Yeah. Can you imagine this team with a worse O-line? Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And
the question becomes at the deadline, I think, do you improve on the wide receiver end or do you improve on the O-line? And I think the answer is both. Like, if you want to compete this year, you kind of need both. Even with Johnson and Chark back, it'll definitely improve this offense 100%. But let's say Johnston, God forbid, goes down or Chark goes down in the playoffs. Then what? You're right back to square one. So you need someone here for like an insurance type of receiver. Could Reagor be that? Possibly. But maybe someone like Deontay can solidify that. So it's just a matter of the needs of the team. And I think defensively, we're good. So we don't need to make adjustments defensively. But offensively, receiver-wise, I think there needs to be adjustments. O-line-wise, there needs to be adjustments made.
The problem is finding a team willing to trade a lineman.
Right.
Because that rarely happens unless there's a contract dispute or, people don't want to give up a good O lineman because they know, that they're hard to find.
Right.
Yeah, and man, what about Telesco's track record of taking O linemen? Except for Slater, like that guy could not figure out
I
who.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just glad he's gone, to be
yeah,
honest. Like I think this was probably a good problem for the Chargers to have this past decade, not starting 2-0 and all these troubles with injuries and play calls and all that, to get this kind of crew in. Um and look, Greg Roman has kind of adjusted. He's letting Herbert throw more. I'm not sure how many attempts he had yesterday exactly, but he threw more, it seems like, compared to the beginning of the season these past few weeks, which is good to see. We put up 26 points. We're not going to be able to put up 26 if we're constantly running the ball like we did weeks 1 and 2. But I think he's adjusting, and that's what's important for this team.
yeah. I mean, I think they would still like to run the ball, but only if they're effective, and they're
Yeah.
just not getting the yardage
Yeah.
right now.
I think they should definitely run the ball. That's not a question, I don't think. It's more just not forcing it. They were forcing it, it seemed like. And, to the credit of Gus Edwards, he wasn't getting many yards per carry, but what that was doing was opening up holes for Dobbins because, like you were saying, he tires out that defensive line, which allows creases for Dobbins. And now that Dobbins is the sole back because Vidal's not getting many carries.
Yeah.
So now that Dobbins getting 17, 18, 20 carries, he had like 25 Monday Night Football game, I think. He's getting tired, one. And then two, he's just not used to that workload. So maybe, when Edwards comes back, he's going to have a role again. I'm not saying Vidal is not going to have a role. I'm just saying you're going to need Edwards out there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, maybe next year we get another big back, or maybe Edwards is healthier. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe health was the problem earlier on in the season. But hopefully after that 4 weeks or however long it takes him to go, hopefully he comes back stronger because we need that big body back.
Right.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back by week 10, it seems like. That's against the Titans, I believe. Either the Titans or the Bengals. I think the Bengals. But I'd rather have him against the Bengals than the Titans. Like if it's against the Titans first, I'd rather sit him and leave him for the Bengals. But another thing is, which is fascinating in the AFC, Steelers got better with Russell Wilson as a starter now. They play the Giants tonight, but they looked a lot better last week. The Broncos look better with Bo Nix, improving week by week. So it's like you're looking at this here and going, okay, we're winning. That's great. But these other teams are not losing. And it's like you need this happy medium here. And yeah, you got to beat Bengals. You got to beat the Ravens. You got to find ways to beat these teams. Buccaneers later on in the season, Chiefs in Arrowhead, Sunday Night Football. That's going to be electric. You got to find ways to win those games, at least most of those games, because these are like the Browns, right? You were saying Jameis Winston, they got better. So it's like you have to consistently win weekly. And next week or Sunday, it's going to be a very important game. It's not going to be an easy game like it was if Watson was going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, the good news is our defense is so great, the number one scoring defense, that they're going to keep us in every game. It's just a matter of the offense being on track now, which is so weird to say because it's been the opposite for so long under Brandon Staley. Horrible defense, great offense.
Right. I remember last year we were talking and it was like 1 week the defense played well, offense played like shit. Like the next week offense played well, defense didn't play well. It's like I don't know. It's this year though it's a lot different. Obviously, like the defense is playing outstanding. This is Super Bowl type defense. It's just the offense now. And I'm not talking about Herbert. I'm talking about everyone else. I'm not talking about Ladd either or Dobbins. I mean, Dobbins, he's going to get it going. It's just the matter of the O-line. But there are guys here where they're very good, like Slater, Alt, Herbert, Dobbins, Ladd. Disley has been playing well too. But then there are guys who are just not nowhere to be found, like the interior O-line. And it's like, okay, when are you guys going to wake up? Because we need you out there. And if they're not going to be performing at a high level, it's not going to be easy to get wins on a weekly basis.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Lost my train of thought here. Yeah, but it's good to see this wide receiver group, stepping up now, because everyone was saying, "Hey, Herbert needs weapons," and Ladd, just exploding is what we needed.
Yeah.
Reagor, Palmer making plays. We need to continue that, and this is a tough team to beat. If you get our offense going like that, how are you going to beat us? Because the defense is going to stop you. And look, these rookie corners, Cam Hart and Still, they're playing out of their minds, man. That hit Cam Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, there was a guy yesterday in a Chris Olave jersey. Every time this guy made a catch, he stood up, just pointing to his back like this. I'm like, okay, relax, man. This guy's acting like Chris Olave is Randy Moss. Every single time. So when that ball came loose, some guy stood up to the left of me and just yelling, "Get up now, get up." And he even turned around. Then he got another catch. Again, he stood up. I'm like, okay, dude. But yeah, they were great yesterday. The cornerbacks were great yesterday. And they, Fulton's been great since week 1. Yeah. Now it's Still and Hart. Man, it's scary. This defense is scary. They haven't even allowed 100 points this year. And we're what is it? We're going to week 9. So we played 7 weeks with the bye. And we've allowed less than 100 points. Yeah. That says everything you need to know about this defense. It's electric, and it's Super Bowl defense. So I'm excited about this defense. You got to make those minor adjustments on the offense, and they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah. The only thing I'm concerned about is Fulton staying healthy, because I know he's been battling injuries, still playing. We need him out there. He's the top corner for us right now.
Yeah, and I think a game like the Titans could be a game where Harbaugh goes, okay, this should be a win. Maybe we do rest Fulton that week for him to recover from the injuries that he's dealing with. Mason Rudolph is under center there, I know now. Will Levis is benched. Rudolph is a bit of an upgrade, but not much. Like, Ridley went crazy yesterday, but I don't think he's going to do that against Chargers. So it's a winnable game against the Titans. That's the type of game where you should maybe think about resting guys like Fulton for a week.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaches would think about it. I don't know if Harbaugh is that kind of coach, though, because we saw with Herbert, when he was really banged up with the ankle, he still went out there because
it's just his preference, I guess, Harbaugh's preference, and I trust it. He's been a proven coach, proven leader, and a champion everywhere he's gone. So I trust it. And again, I'll say Jesse Minter, just a masterpiece. But I'm afraid that they're going to go out and try and get him, any team, as a head coach. So we're going to lose this guy sooner than later. So let's make the best out of it. I know, analysts and all those guys were talking about kind of a rebuild year for us. Doesn't look that way. We get the win Sunday. We're 5-3, and we're in the driver's seat for the playoffs right now. The Chiefs just can't lose. They're what, 6-0 now, 7-0, something like that. So I mean, Pacheco's coming back soon for them. but Kareem Hunt's been carrying them. So I don't know how much of an upgrade Pacheco is right now. Obviously, he's gonna be a bulldozer like he always is. But if he's gonna be in a timeshare with Hunt, how effective is that going to be? But they're a good team. It's just even if we make the playoffs, as long as we're not playing in Buffalo, like in the snow and that crazy crowd wild card game, I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, defense travels.
Yeah.
And that's why we need the run game too, because you're in an environment like that, you need to run the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's where Roman comes in. And yeah, we've seen in the past those snowy games where the running backs get like 30 attempts and quarterbacks get a little over 100 yards passing if they're lucky. And yeah, it's just a grit and grind type of game in those scenarios. So even last year, I was saying that's what fears me is playing in Buffalo wild card game, because it's like, it's an elimination game. I don't want to go out, playing in Buffalo among those crazy fans. But it is what it is. If we play Buffalo, we play Buffalo. I mean, I don't think it's going to matter much because of how good this defense is. Like last year, we didn't have this defense. So if this was last year, I would say just forget it. I'm not even watching it because you're not going to beat Buffalo at their home. But this year, it's a bit different.
Yeah, and I just hope we have Joey Bosa for the playoffs. He's out there battling injuries.
Yeah.
It came out he's not able to sleep because he's having so much pain. But he's still toughing it out, going out there, and wasn't able to make it through the game.
Yeah, you got to feel for the guy. I mean, it's tough. But I think what yesterday showed for the defense is that when Bosa's out there, Thule steps up.
Yeah.
And he made some 2 or 3 big plays yesterday. One of the deflection, one was a run stop for loss of yards. And it was another play he made. So I hadn't seen Thule make plays like that, this season. So it could be because there's less pressure on him since Bosa's out there. That's why it's like when fans say to trade Bosa, I get it because he's always injured. But at the same time, when he's not, he makes a difference for the other players. And if we're going to be winning without him, maybe keep him out until the playoffs. We're going to need him during the regular season, but especially in the playoffs. And if he's healthy, at least in the playoffs, again, I think we're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it's a surprising stat that we're one of the teams with the least sacks in the league, because coming in, you think about those 4 pass rushers, and Bud Dupree just hasn't been very good. He's been, it seems like he'll get a guy and then they just run loose, man. It's like
Bo Nix a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think it happened this last game too.
Yeah. I think it was the backup quarterback this time, but he's got to do better. I mean, he's making some plays, but he's not that kind of dominant threat that he used to be, and we're not really expecting him to be. But I mean, Khalil Mack, he's 33 and still has a dominant presence. We need someone else with that dominant presence if Bosa's not healthy. So whether that's coming from Thule or Dupree, we need it somewhere. And the defensive tackles, again, did a good job yesterday. Kamara broke free a couple times, but, it's bound to happen if they're running it 16, 17 times. But just overall, great game. Just the atmosphere in that stadium was great. Just, extremely loud. I can just imagine if we have a home playoff game, what it's going to be like. But good game overall.
Yeah, I'm so sad I missed that, because most home games I'm used to having more opposing fans, and hearing how many Charger fans were actually there would have been nice.
It's funny because when I went to the Qualcomm Stadium, it was Saints against Chargers, Rivers against Breeze. So I was like, I have to be there for this game because that was the last time they played.
I was there
We
too.
went. Yeah, we went. The bad thing was it was hot. Like it was 90 plus, and it was humid. I was like, you can't get any worse than this. The sun's literally glaring on us the whole game. Um, and we had to be standing because at Qualcomm, I don't know if you guys remember, like it was a weird stadium. Like you had to be standing if you were section 100.
Yeah,
We were just standing the whole time because of all those machines in the front.
yeah.
We were standing the whole game, and just a bunch of Saints fans. I was like, dude, are we at a Chargers game? This is a home game for us, or are we in New Orleans? That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And they were just going crazy the whole game. And then I think that game, Travis Benjamin dropped a touchdown pass. Harold Williams dropped a touchdown pass. It was just a mess. And at the very end, Rivers threw an interception. But you can't only blame Rivers that game because they were just dropping touchdown passes.
Yeah.
And so after the game, these Saints fans were just going crazy and just like shit talking and all that. And I was like, okay, like we deserve that because it was a horrible game for us. But this game, it was a lot different. I think I want to say it was 70-30 Chargers. And what I noticed was like there was, let's say, one Chargers fan, one Saints fan together. So like either buddies or partners or whatever. And there was after the game, there was a woman who kept standing up and going crazy every time the Saints made a play, even when they were down big. So her friend stood up and she was just like on top of her, like, yeah, that's what you get. You guys lost this and that. So a lot of back and forth from the fans, but in a friendly way. None of that Raider type of BS, in a friendly way. But yeah, it was just a good atmosphere to be in. Really hot in the beginning, then it cooled off, so the weather was nice. But yeah, it was a good game to be at, and hopefully you'll be there for Week 10.
Yeah, yeah. And shout out to the interior defensive line again too, man. Tart, Puna Ford, those guys still making plays, man. Yeah, still a strength of that defense, and we haven't been used to that either for a long time. The middle of the line has been such a weakness for us, and to see them coming up big and stuffing the run and getting pressure, it's been huge.
Yeah. And it's these small additions that no one talks about, that we always talk about the stars and all this, but it's these small additions that matter, filling in these holes. And that's what we did defensively, especially. And next year, no doubt, I think we improved that O-line. It's just this year, I want us to compete, and if we can compete, if we don't have to give up too much capital, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, this team can be scary, just add a couple pieces here and there. And, man, you get that offense clicking with the defense. Who's going to stop us,
Yeah.
Maybe the referees in Kansas City, but
I feel like they tried yesterday because there was some extremely stupid calls yesterday. I feel like they tried yesterday, but we were so ahead that it didn't even matter. And that's kind of the way we got to play against teams like the Chiefs, if we can, of course, because you got to just expect kind of the BS calls. It's just part of the game now, unfortunately, and we know that they favor the Chiefs. I think every fan that's not a Chiefs fan knows that. And yeah, we have to play ahead and hope for the best.
Yeah. And who knows, it could be another, undefeated season like the Patriots and
man, I hope they're undefeated until week 14 and we just march in there and beat them.
That would be nice.
That's what I'm hoping for, because that would be, first of all, a momentum booster for the Chargers. Just, their confidence will go through the roof. And then beating the Chiefs in Kansas City, we've done it before.
Yeah.
They haven't been undefeated, but we've done it before. And it would be great if we get a wide receiver to kind of help out. Whether it's Mike Will or Deontay Johnson. Even Adam Thielen, I think, is available, but he's a bit older now. Just anything right now, just to help Herbert out. because you're going to need it against teams like Chiefs and Bills and Ravens with those high-powered offenses. And that's another thing. How is our defense going to do against quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, like Lamar Jackson, that we're going to see later on in the season? If they can shut those guys up, I mean, I don't know how many other quarterbacks are going to be able to, go off against this defense, because we haven't seen any right now. Really,
Well,
no quarterback has gone off against the Chargers.
I think the biggest problem they've had so far is against mobile quarterbacks like
Yeah.
Murray,
Yeah,
because it seems like every now and then they'll let him scramble for a big gain, a touchdown.
yeah,
So someone like Lamar Jackson,
right,
yeah,
right. And they're just a scary team, but at the same time, you lost to the Browns. I don't know. They're a beatable team. Not to say that we're not beatable. It's just that, no one's not beatable. And I know Chiefs are undefeated right now, but I mean, they have a lot of injuries too. Rashee Rice not coming back this year is big. Getting Hopkins didn't make much of a dent yesterday. It will help, but he's not the Houston Texans Hopkins. So it'll be interesting to see how Mahomes utilizes him compared to Will Levis. I'm interested to see that. But other than that, I mean, I don't see any of the AFC quarterbacks being as big of a threat as Lamar Jackson, maybe Josh Allen, but that's about it.
yeah. It'll be good to see our defense against those tests. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and hey, next week, Jameis Winston will be a good test too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
People forget how good he is and that arm he has. He can throw long bombs. He can.
Yeah. And look at the weapons he's working with. It's just Njoku and Judy. Right? Like Elijah Moore, he's always been decent. He hasn't been that big of a receiver. Judy too, really, but Judy is now their wide receiver one. But Njoku, he's going to be a problem for defenses, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. But it's interesting. I was looking at the standings yesterday. Usually, we talk about the AFC West being the best division. NFC North is a stacked division. The Bears just lost yesterday on that Hail Mary insanity. They're 4-3. The Vikings are 5-2. I think the Lions are 6-1. I think, and the Packers are around there. I think they're 5-2 as well. So it's a stacked division. Like, that's the division I'm looking at in the NFC, because possibly all four of those teams can make the playoffs, which is we haven't seen that in a long time. And we're not going to see that in the AFC West because of the Raiders. But AFC West, maybe three of us make the playoffs, with the Broncos included. But Broncos have a tough schedule ahead. So that's going to be the trick for the Broncos in terms of improvement, or, how Bonus has been performing. Are you going to be able to beat those better teams? And if they can't, that's an opening for the Chargers. So there's a lot of football to be played still. We're only week 9 now. I mean, we still have half a season to go. So there's a lot of football to be played. It's not like our schedule is easy, but these are games that we have to knock out, like the Browns Sunday, the Titans later on. Those are must-win games, because you have tougher games coming. And if we can win half those games, that'll push us forward to the playoffs, I think, if we take care of these easy ones.
Yeah, you don't want to lose next week and be 500 again,
Right.
and then
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think fans are just tired of being 500 and, subpar, mediocre type of team. The good thing is we play the Broncos later on in the season at home. That could be a huge game in terms of playoff implications. And then we go to Vegas week 18. By then, I'm hoping we clinch playoffs, because, I don't even think the Raiders crowd will show up, because they're just so bad this year that what team was it? They were playing against, I can't remember who it was. Steelers, I think. It was packed of black and yellow in Vegas. I never thought I'd see that. another team take over the Raiders Stadium. I was like, oh, so we don't have fans, or you guys don't? Which one is it? I'd never seen that before. So it could be a game like that for the Raiders Week 18 because they're what 2-5 now, or 2-6, something like that. So I think they're pretty much done. I just feel bad for Brock Bowers because he has to be stuck there, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get him, but alt is what we needed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's another thing. Like if it was between Bowers and Neighbors, I would have rather had Bowers because he could play wide receiver, he could play tight end, he could block, and that's what we kind of needed. But I'm happy with Will Dissly. I think he's done a good job, and I think he's kind of building a chemistry with Herbert, which is important, especially last week, but even against the Saints, which is important because down the line in the playoffs, you're going to need to make those short passes. The blitz is going to be heavy, coverage is going to be different. Playoffs are a different animal, and good thing that Herbert's witnessed that against the Jaguars. Unfortunate outcome, but he's witnessed the ups and downs of a playoff game. So not too much experience, but he has enough, I think, to kind of make a name for himself this year in the playoffs if we can make it.
Yeah, and Dissly's big in the blocking game too.
Yeah.
And yeah, we need that win for Herbert, because I'm tired of, people saying that it's all Herbert's fault. He can't get it done. Like,
yeah. I agree with you. I mean, we just have to win a playoff game because that's the narrative now. Herbert can't win a playoff game. When we were winning in the beginning of the season, oh, he's not, throwing too many yards. When we were losing, oh, he's losing. But he's throwing 300 yards, but no one cares about that anymore. I mean, it's just a lose-lose situation. But imagine he wins and throws 300 yards. Then what are they going to say? But I think they can make a dent in the playoffs because of this defense. And even against the Jaguars, that defense looked really good in the first half. Remember, like all those interceptions. I think they had 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
and then
Asante Samuel Jr. was getting all those interceptions.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, in terms of like those big games, he steps up for whatever reason he doesn't during normal games, but like primetime games, playoff games, he stepped up. He's picked off Mahomes a couple of times too, Aloy Gilman as well. So when he comes back, I think he still has a role. It's just going to be less of a role. And I don't see him being anywhere in the CB2 spot. Like, I think he'll be CB3, possibly even CB4 when he comes back.
Yeah, I mean, with Cam Hart playing the way he's been playing, I don't see him, his aunt getting his job back. And
it's unfortunate because he's been with us all these years, but it's just unfortunately part of the business. If you don't show up to work and someone else takes your spot, that's what happens. So, and it's not just if he was performing at a high level and got injured, we'd say, okay, yeah, he's going to come back. He's going to take that spot. But he wasn't. And I think that's the bigger thing, that now Hart's doing a lot better. So is there really room for you currently? And they may use him, here and there, but Hart's the CB2 right now.
Yeah, much better tackler. You can see those bruising hits Hart makes. Zont, you don't know if he's going to make the tackle.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think Hart's just a physical corner, and we need that with Derwin there too, and Henley. And it was good to see Colson out there too the other day. This is what a complete defense will do to offenses. And, the better teams we play, the more we kind of shut them down like this, the more people will be convinced of it. But we've allowed less than 100 points. I think that's more than convincing. So we just have to continue turning ahead and, take it week by week. But a lot of good teams in the AFC. So little margin for error.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But remember to subscribe and smash that like button. And Underdog Fantasy, promo code BOLT. They'll match up to $1,000. So
make sure you sign up. World Series picks today. So they have a lot of discounts too. Fun platform.
Yeah. And go Chargers, go Dodgers, go Lakers. All right. See ya.
Yeah.